what if American healthcare were the best in the world? What if American health were the best in the world? What if it was just undeniable, bar none, that the results of our healthcare were great? Everybody has a story. Each of you do, or you have a close friend or a family member who does. And they're important stories. They're stories that affect quality of life and dignity of death. So I too, of course, have my stories, and it was those stories that got me into healthcare. I was a systems engineer, and I had become a Harvard Business School professor in strategy and innovation. I really wasn't thinking about healthcare. And then I had kids. And two of my kids had a lot of medical complexity in their very early years. One had a heart anomaly that I was originally told was inconsistent with life, and the other had a chronic disease that left him in pain 7 days a week for 5 years until we finally found help. Both of them today are happy, healthy, successful 20-something-year-olds who you would enjoy spending time with. I surely do. But we started with a very different, very rough launch. And it got me really thinking about how the healthcare system works and why it doesn't, when it doesn't. So the first thing that you notice when you get involved for some reason, get tossed into the healthcare system, is that it's full of smart, caring, hardworking professionals. So it doesn't make sense that the whole innovation dynamic in healthcare lags. But what you do see is that the results in healthcare are highly variable. The processes that are used are highly variable. They're often locally determined rather than determined by national science. And we, of course, also know that there are huge health disparities across ethnic and racial and language lines. If you were to guess for something like orthopedic surgery, what percentage of surgeons would you think measure the functional results of patients after orthopedic surgery? So our chairman of surgery and perioperative care, who is himself a renowned orthopedic surgeon, said maybe 10%. Most don't. So we're not actually tracking the outcomes, the outputs. Think about any other business you know. Would you put up with having the companies not track the outcomes? We think about healthcare as one word, and as one word, it means treatment. But we don't want more treatment, right? It's two words. It's health and care. Competition in healthcare traditionally has been about market share. It's been about bargaining power. It's been about controlling networks so we can have more bargaining power and get more market share without paying attention to the outcomes that we're achieving, without competing to improve health. So when you think about the purpose being health, cost reduction is necessary, but it's not sufficient. The care that any one of us gets is highly variable across different conditions or circumstances for which we seek care. And as we looked at the competition in healthcare and what was wrong with it, and why all the efforts to fix incentives in healthcare just fail, one after the other, the goal has to be to achieve better outcomes for the people being served, and better outcomes for the money that we spend. So we need to spend smarter. We're going to have to make structural changes in order to be able to change the incentives. We're going to have to get competition and results measurement and team learning at the right level, at the level that value is created. And if we're going to do that, it means that healthcare needs a transformation. I like using this picture because the way we think about the transformation is way too limited. And we have a tendency to ask people about, co-creation. How would you like your healthcare to be different? Or to ask the team, what are the different things they think maybe they should be doing? And you can get to population health if enough people's health improves, but the concept of value is created one person at a time. When you talk with people about their health, the outcomes that really matter to them fall in 3 categories. The first is capability. Can you do the things that enable you to be you? The second category is comfort. Reduction in pain and suffering, so anxiety, depression. But the second category is comfort. People seek care to improve comfort. And the third category is calm. Healthcare problems, and often the way we deliver healthcare, can create chaos and mayhem in family life, in people's individual lives. And often the way we deliver healthcare today actually disrupts calm rather than adding to it. But we can design care that creates capability, comfort, and calm. So the first example I'm going to talk with you about is diabetes, because diabetes care today is common. So one of the projects that we worked on was to create integrated diabetes care in South Carolina at the request of 2 big employers who had employees who were working on 12-hour rotating shifts. In the care that we designed, they would come to one place, and the care providers that they needed for different aspects of their care, including things like learning how to cook for their diet and manage their hypertension, which is part of managing diabetes, all those things would happen in one morning. So instead of missing 6 mornings of work throughout the space of a month or 2 months, they would miss 1 morning. Everything would happen in one place, and they had support for the lifestyle change. We stood it up as a pilot. Near the end of the first year, I got a funny phone call, not funny, but odd phone call, because the health plan that was now administering the system was tossing people out of the program. They were getting tossed out of the program because technically they no longer had diabetes. The way our system works, when that happens, the system looks at it and says, oh, that's a case of fraud. We're not set up to recognize success. We got it fixed. But I thought it was a wonderful statement of how different the system is when we actually set it up to make it work. But when you looked at the healthcare costs for these patients over the course of a year, it was about 20% less. I want to talk for a minute about measuring mortality, and I'm going to use the example of prostate cancer. At the average hospital and the best hospital, there's no significant difference in 5-year survival. But it's not the full question. The question isn't just how long do you live, the question is how well do you live? We're talking about erectile dysfunction and incontinence, and those things are not mysterious to anybody in this room. And so when you look at this and realize that at the best hospital, these are unusual occurrences, whereas at the average hospital, you would expect to have erectile dysfunction or incontinence after treatment for prostate cancer. But the whole conversation about what's overuse and what's appropriate use changes when people are getting great functional outcomes. This example is joint pain. The idea is to have wraparound care, I call it surround sound care, for the patient who comes in with disabling joint pain. The thing I want you to think about, which is thinking differently than the way you traditionally read about it in the newspapers, is to recognize that better outcomes reduce costs. That if we focus on actually achieving better health, that we will reduce the costs of care. The fundamental insight that drives the view of high-value healthcare is just this, very, very simply put, that living in good health is inherently less expensive than living in poor health.